I'm sorry, I've spent so long. I'm just like, I don't know how to start this video. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're doing something a little bit different. I am doing an interview with the man, the myth, the legend, known for his many millions of view videos and known the world over by his adoring fans. It is Bushradical, who spends his time...
Hi!
who spends his time absently plucking the guitar and sitting on the porch and other wild and dangerous things.
Guys gotta have hobbies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're just going to chat for a bit.
I would love to chat, son. Can I call you son?
No, absolutely not. I'm sure everybody else will make that relationship very, very clear in the comments.
There probably are some people out there who watch one of our channels and don't watch the other one and have absolutely no idea.
Probably not too many, though.
Oh, I imagine. I imagine.
For the uninitiated, that was the cue. If you're from either one of our channels, this is your moment to go subscribe to whichever one of us you aren't already subscribed to.
That's the truth. You need to go subscribe to my channel.
This whole family is just a gigantic pyramid scheme.
Pretty
just
much.
Filtering back into each other. Weren't we talking one time about like we could all individually interview everyone else and we could all get like 5 videos out of that?
Yeah, for people who might not know, I have a YouTube channel. Mick has a YouTube channel. Mick's mother, my wife, Brooke, has a YouTube channel. And my brother Ryan also has a YouTube channel.
Belle technically has a YouTube channel.
Belle, Mick's sister.
That's why
my daughter.
That's why I said technically.
There's a bunch of connections here. Yeah, she technically has a YouTube channel too, but she doesn't do much with it yet. I mean, maybe she'll. But all of us have a history of manual labor jobs, and YouTube is just it's a better fit for people who are always thinking and trying stuff and don't want to pour cement. Or in Ryan's case, Ryan was a IBEW electrician, and it could be 25 degrees below zero and he'd be out like putting together structural steel. So his life really sucked. He got paid well, but so YouTube for a creative person is a great fit, and it's kind of the family business now.
Absolutely. And that actually leads me on very, very nicely to the first question I wanted to ask, which was, what was your life like before you started doing YouTube? And what's really changed in the last, how long has it been now?
Almost 8 years.
Really?
It's been almost 8 years. Well, life before YouTube was, just life in general, like everybody else. Brooke and I, we did as much adventuring as we possibly could. We lived in Alaska. Mick was born in Alaska, so was his sister Belle. And but we worked the best jobs we could, and just tried, like everybody else, just tried to do the best we can in life. I was a cement finisher for years, and then for most of a decade, I was a cement contractor. And no matter what I've done in life, I've always wanted to figure it out the best I can and do the most with it in the simplest way. So after years and years of being a guy on the job site doing cement work, I got a contractor's license, I got bonding and insurance. I had a couple crappy old trucks and a couple, pieces of equipment, concrete equipment like a power trawl and a compactor and a laser transit, and I kept it just like in YouTube. I kept it super basic, and I really enjoyed being a contractor.
Publish your book too, your famous novel.
Yeah, I wrote a book one time called Higher Profits in Concrete Construction. It sold exactly 0 copies. I tried mailing out sales letters for it because I was hyper efficient, and that's kind of the same way I approach YouTube. Is like I had the cheapest trucks and I had the bare basics of gear, but I always focused on like turning out the best concrete product. So if you ever wonder what some of us YouTubers did before, in my case it was a lot of sweat and bug spray and sunburns and concrete.
Absolutely. Hold on just 1 second. Something in me was paranoid that we weren't rolling that whole time. And I just needed to know, just for certain, for absolutely certain.
Oh, yeah, that happens. I don't know how many times it's, you think you get the shot and you didn't actually hit record. You actually were recording and you shut it off.
I was doing this sort of talking head voiceover for like one of my first videos. I think it was just after we had gotten up to Alaska, and it was like, the video like about the journey, and I think it was like 4 a.m. And I needed to get the video out that day, and I had already spent forever editing it because I was editing on iMovie on a phone, which is an unusable platform. I mean, it's fine on the computer, but like on the phone, like literally you put any piece of footage in and it buffers for like 8 to like 15 seconds before you can do anything with it. And then you split like a clip and it does the same thing. And it's such a monumentally slow process. And I had like an hour and a half of footage to edit. But I was filming like I scripted everything out, and I was filming this sort of talking head for it. And it was like 25 minutes of footage, and my phone died in like the first like 4 minutes. And I found that out. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I found that out when I finished, and I'm like, I'm ready to go home, because it's like whipping wind where I was at, because I was out, just by the river.
In Delta?
Yeah, in Delta. That was a tragedy, and I was livid, as I often am in the pursuit of this career.
Yeah, and the premise behind that too is we were just wondering if the camera was running, in case you missed that, because
I might cut part of that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, life before YouTube was it was adventurous, but Brooke and I have always been looking for the next thing. Just it's part of the fun of life is just trying to figure out what the next thing is. So she got into film work.
Right.
You were real young.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, she got into film work, and she bought a camera, and she filmed a documentary on the Mount Marathon race in Seward. And back in the day, it was shooting on
tape.
Yeah, tape.
Yeah.
It was shooting on tape, and then you edit it all down and turn it into 500 boxes of DVDs
That
and
will never ever go anywhere.
We still have some, and
we have quite a lot.
Almost, I don't know, 15 years ago, probably. But we were just working people, but we were always looking for that creative outlet. She was in a band when we met. I was in a band. There's always been a creative side of everything we do, and of course, you and your sister are the same way. So you're always, you're doing whatever you need to do to get by, and at the same time, always looking for something better that is a better fit.
Yeah. What exactly? What was the catalyst that like made you decide like this is where I'm going to put my time instead of over something else, like over like a more conventional job?
Well, I always had a bit of a different perspective than other people, and I don't want to phrase this like I was this way, other people are that way, but I'll make a really long story quick. I started playing guitar at 14, and shortly after that, I was like, well, I want to start a band because that's the next logical step. And then I was in a band for a couple of years, and we were trying to be successful at music. So it was always this progression of like, find an idea that's really interesting, pursue it, and then like develop it, right?
Yeah.
Same with concrete. I was 18 years old making $4.90 an hour or something stupid like that back in the early 90s doing cement. It was like, okay, I need to learn how to finish, then I need to get a license, and then I need to start my own business. With YouTube, it was, Brooke got into film work, and then I found YouTube probably 2010, 2011. It wasn't when it first came out. I'd maybe heard about it, but I didn't. We had terrible internet. We lived in interior Alaska.
I remember the sound.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, the old dial-up connection.
Oh, yeah.
So to watch a 10-minute video, you'd have an hour into it.
Oh, absolutely.
Waiting for it to buffer, and you'd watch 50 of those, and then your internet was used for the month, and it would just shut off or quit work. Anyway, so there was always there's always this progression of like you get onto an idea and then you just develop it the best you can to, do the best you can with it. When I found YouTube, the very first video I saw on YouTube, my friend Brandon Lardy, who was another guitar player from back in Michigan, a good friend of mine, he sent me a video of his band on YouTube. It was a YouTube link, and I didn't know how to use a link.
Yeah.
I'm mostly
You don't even know how to use a
illiterate.
link now.
I'm mostly technologically illiterate. But I remember...
an admirable trait, really.
You gotta
In a way.
You gotta take life a la carte. Some things are worth doing. Some things are like, nope, don't need it.
Absolutely.
Like, I still don't use the internet on my cell phone. Won't do it. I will not do it. If I need to use the internet while I'm out, I'll take my laptop and like use the hotspot and then like, because I'm just not gonna. I don't want to learn a new thing that I don't like anyway.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, right.
That's how to age with grace.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn the new thing.
I don't want to learn the new stuff.
Ugh, change scares me.
So Brandon sent me this link of his band, and I, put it in the thing, and like it was his band on YouTube, and I'm like, how in the world did you ever like make this? And Brandon's a tech guy,
Right.
So it was second nature to him. To me, it was like an insurmountable task to see how he made this happen.
It sounds like such a 2010 perspective.
It
How
was.
in the world did you put footage on the internet? Sorry, interweb. Or World Wide Web.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably back then.
So from there, like, I started looking at YouTube a little different because I knew that it was not like some secret cult club that you had to be a member of to make it, anybody could use it. My buddy Brandon put footage on it. So I started looking at it through that lens when I saw a video that was an interesting subject to me that was shot by just a regular person doing something interesting. I'm like, well, they could do that. I could do that too. And just that same progression, like I found it, I became interested in it. And then I started to look at it like, man, I've got 1,000 things I would love to film and put on YouTube. Like, and then the financial component comes into it too. You hear that like people are making a living with YouTube.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when did you become aware that there was even a financial angle to be gained from it at all? Because
probably 2012-ish. I started to,
yeah, that probably would have been the era when like the first big YouTubers started like appearing.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of, if you Googled like how to start a YouTube channel, you would run across these people back then, like Tim Schmoyer, probably. Daryl Eves was another guy. And these are people that would teach people how to do YouTube. And they kind of, made me aware of the financial end of it, that, you could actually make a living with AdSense revenue and whatnot. And I'm like, there was living in Alaska all those years. We did so many things that I always thought would be really interesting to a lot of people, but also, we didn't have any way to share that. And with YouTube, it's like when I finally started putting the connection together that YouTube was like a viable career path. I was like, man, I have a ton of things I would love to share. And then I started thinking about like, okay, this is something I want to get into, but I didn't know how to film. I never had edited anything before. I didn't understand any of that. One thing that I actually did, I think has been really helpful though, is I did know recording software, the basic called GarageBand on Mac computers, because I record my own music. So like, to go from GarageBand to iMovie, a lot of it seemed very similar. You get a bar that's like, this is your music, and you can, raise the levels and cut stuff out. So,
and even then, iMovie is a much more intuitive platform than GarageBand is. So if you have GarageBand down, and it's a very similar in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But iMovie just has less to work with, and it's just more like I feel like you wouldn't have much trouble like figuring it out if you really knew nothing about it.
Yeah. I like iMovie because it's it's like the Fisher Price editing software, and that's what I want. I want the dumbest thing possible. But having run the GarageBand software, a lot of the things were similar, so that was easy. And then learning how to film was when we were on Alone season 4.
Is that really when you... Oh, man.
Yeah, I'd never run a camera before that.
Huh.
Other than your mom once in a while would be like, hey, film me doing this.
Just like hold the camera.
Where's the button? Where's the on button?
Film like head is like cut off at the top of the frame.
Yeah, right. I totally get it wrong.
My friends do that. I don't even ask them. I don't even ask them to like hold the camera for me, because every single time I let them hold the camera, I like get it back. I'm like, what did you do? Like, it's like I'm in the center of the frame. Just put me in the center of the frame, and I have to put them back in the slavery box until the next video, until I need them again.
Yeah, and that was me.
Oh, speaking of that, let's get into your all the people that secretly build all of your cabins and work on, and your giant workforce that you have for all of your projects, because you're obviously
yeah, I got a comment.
Hiring a bunch of people to do all that.
I got a comment one time. A guy was like, "Yeah, this guy is referring to me. He's an absolute, this guy's a fraud." Is what he said. He's got a bunch of people that build all his stuff. It's like, I work alone, man. I'm always by myself. The cabin I built in the Upper Peninsula, that's got the big one, the one that's got like 26 million views. I was there for like 3.5 weeks. Get up, have breakfast, and go to work just like a job, And I'd stop filming when the sun went down. So once in a while, I'll get a stupid comment like that, like, "Oh, he's got people working." I'm like, I don't have anybody even helping. There's nobody to talk to. Soon as I shut the camera off on a shot, I kick the radio back on so I don't lose my mind,
Read whatever presidential biography you have just in the truck that week.
Yeah, I usually got a book or two floating around.
Oh, Rutherford B. Hayes. Don't mind if I do. I think a good place to go from here is you. Even within our own family, you're kind of infamously like cutthroat in the way that you make content. What is your sort of ethos behind, like, if somebody like came up to you and said like, "Hey, like, how do I make like a good YouTube video, and like how do I be successful on this platform?" Like, what would you tell them in like the most concise terms?
Yes, I understand the premise of the question, and let me back that up just a fuzz. When we talk about concrete, when I talked about being a cement contractor, I was cutthroat in cement contracting too. I never took equipment or materials to a job site that didn't belong there. I was like hyper focused on like efficiency and like minimalism. Minimalism and efficiency. So with, like to bring that forward too, just like with music and editing music, music is about the song and the performance. It's got nothing to do with how nice of equipment you have, or your fancy editing tricks or anything. I use the reference of the song Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. It's like, "Aloo, oh man,
right.
We gotta go."
Yeah, that one. Not
a great recording. You can't understand any of the lyrics, but the song is ultra catchy. So despite the things that it lacks, we still know it 60 years later. And it's a good way to illustrate that some things matter and some things don't. Having the best equipment doesn't matter. Shooting subjects that are interesting, that matters. Shooting a lot of shots so people get to see everything that they hope to see, that matters. Fancy editing tricks and like, "Oh, I'm going to use this transition for, from this shot to the next, where the screen flips out and then it goes to this other shot." Just all my favorite bands, a lot of them like have like super, super basic equipment. They never change their equipment, and they just like, Creedence Clearwater Revival is a good example. That guy owned like 3 guitars. And he's always playing the same guitar, and but John Fogerty was an absolute genius when it come to writing songs, and the songs are what mattered. And in video production, You know, simple gear is all you need. Simple editing is all you need, but you have to have interesting subjects with lots of good shots, and everything else is fluff. So like the business perspective, the music perspective, and the film perspective are all the same. Like there's a bunch of crap you don't need, and like focus on the stuff that matters.
And that seems to be sort of the through line for, I mean, you have always loved to teach people about this stuff and just sort of been innately drawn to like finding other people who want to do YouTube and like laying them out on like what sort of the best way to do it.
For those unfortunate souls who ask what YouTube is like, I give them the fire hose treatment of
that'll happen sometime.
Yeah, I mean, teach for sure.
But there's the through line between the people, the very few people that you have said are kind of borderline unteachable, is that they can't get their head around the stuff that needs to go and the stuff that does not matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like getting rid of the fluff.
I think there's two things at play here. Number one, for people just getting into YouTube, it's very easy to make it harder than it is in your mind. And it takes a long time to unlearn all these preconceived notions people have about what will work on YouTube and what won't. And I think the other side of that coin is when people are making videos, a lot of times they're not thinking about the viewer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the person on the other end of the camera is the most important person on YouTube. Without that person, you can't win. And by win, I mean you can't keep doing YouTube for a living and not go back to pouring cement, which is always like it's always right back there.
Yeah, that's a horrifying. I mean, I never had cement, but I had McDonald's.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
That is the worst.
Insert any soul-crushing job that you don't like, and YouTube is much better than that thing.
There is not a word to describe how slippery the floors were on my first day.
At McDonald's?
I mean that. Like, there was grease on the floor, like, a lot of the days, but, like, the first day, like, you need, like, a sort of dress shoe, like, to work there. It's kind of, like, part of the dress code. I didn't have that, so I wore, like, my, like, black, like, firefighting boots.
Oh, really?
Which are pretty heavy duty.
Yeah.
And then I come in there and it's like they have oiled the floors. I couldn't hardly walk. I had to shuffle everywhere that whole day.
Wow.
I remember there was a kid that I went to school with who was working there too. And like my first day, he's like, I saw someone do cocaine off of that table in the break room. And I'm like, that's a disgusting table to do cocaine off of.
That sounds... You think that's indicative to every McDonald's or just the one you worked at?
I bet. I can't imagine it gets any better than that. But, you know, there's no point of that story other than there is good incentive to keep things quick and interesting and concise so that you never have to go back to the the grease and grime.
Well, there is a lot of people in the world who look at YouTube as like it's a possibility to get into and to ultimately end up doing YouTube for a living. And if you've got a lot of interesting things to share and you can ditch your misconceptions about like how to make a film and what matters and the algorithm, you know, people are like, oh, the algorithm doesn't like me anymore. And no, the audience doesn't care for the stuff you're putting out. You know, you do the best you can with the video, but you have to start with good, interesting ideas first. And hopefully you can avoid working at McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with working at McDonald's, but, you know, a lot of people aren't wired to handle...
It wears on the soul.
Right.
Which I think is the real problem with it.
And that's a problem with almost every job. Some jobs are engaging enough that... And I don't mean to disparage people working a 9-to-5 job. That's most of us are working a 9-to-5 job, and YouTube is a job too. But like if you are somebody who shows up and your head is always somewhere else, and you can't find the joy in whatever the job is, it'd be very difficult to work a 9 to 5 and not have something else, another iron in the fire like YouTube.
Yeah. Speaking of joy, I meant to ask, what do you think, what brings you the most fulfillment out of like the career you've built for yourself? Like outside of just, monetarily, like what do you get out of making content on YouTube?
That's an interesting question. One of the things that I always find really thrilling is once in a while when you're editing your footage, you'll see a shot that's really good.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's a good shot. And once in a while you'll get a shot that you didn't know you had. And YouTube.
What do you mean?
I hit a deer in Saskatchewan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to film this because, I mean, even though I was bleeding and I had glass all over me and the dog had glass all over her, I was like, if I don't turn the camera on right now, I will regret having not filmed. And that's kind of a rule of thumb. When you least want to run the cameras, when you should run it the most.
Yeah.
So I turned the camera on and I was getting some shots just in the moment, the dead deer and the smashed up car.
Oh yeah, and then you left it on.
And then I left it on
in the car.
I stuck it back in the camera bag, and the lens was pointing up, and I happened to get this shot of the firefighters like tearing my windshield out and talking about like the car is unfixable, and one guy in this thick Saskatchewan accent's like, "Oh no, O'Shoey, you'll fix it." This guy Dwayne O'Shoey, who's a friend of mine still. Dwayne's a great guy. And just a local guy that like fixed everybody's stuff, has a shop and like
didn't he just let you stay at his house? Like,
I camped in his yard in the middle of Saskatchewan for like 4 days. And I actually stopped and visited him on the way up to Alaska last winter when I came up in the winter. And great folks. But I ended up with this shot, like this amazing, like unexpected shot of like the busted glass through the windshield opening and the firefighters. And it was just thrilling. I'm like, so stuff like that. Once in a while you get a shot you didn't know. And once in a while you get a shot, it's like, that's a great shot. And also sometimes you get a video where by the time you're done editing the video, you're like, that was spot on. Like, I don't think I could have done that better. And it's a really fulfilling thing to be like, this was the idea that I wanted to cover at the time. And when you go to upload it, if you feel like I don't think I could have put more into it, I don't think I could have done better, and I'm excited about the video. If you're excited about your own videos, that's kind of the reward, I think. Because once in a while you have to shoot a video that's like
you've had the idea and you know that it'll probably do well, so you're like, I have to do this, and then you're just sort of just going through the motions.
Yeah, maybe
that happens sometimes.
Maybe you're not excited about a video idea, but it's been on your plate for a long time, and you know it's like in your wheelhouse. It's something you need to cover, but you've kind of lost the spark for it. It is really awesome when you have an idea you love and you finish the edit and you're like, that's great. I'm I can't wait to share this. That's really kind of the payoff to YouTube is doing the best you can with what you have, and then knowing it, being like, I couldn't have done any better than that.
Okay. Really? I wish that you had brought those over here. He brought a box of cashews with him, and we haven't had any of these this whole time. So the moment I asked this question, turn it over to him, I'm just gonna
I had a big jar in the truck the other day. I was coming back out through the state land. Man, I tipped that jar over. Like, I had an inch of cashews on the floor of the truck.
That's a shame.
I know.
How many of these do you buy, like, on a regular basis?
Eat a lot of cashews.
I know you eat a lot of cashews, because this one, it's somewhere on the floor now. This one you just got is brand new.
And I bought that one last night.
You have one in your truck. Do you?
Should, yeah.
Okay, so you one in your truck, one there, and I just finished the one that was in your car this morning.
Yeah, my shopping list is like 5 things. It's like beef, cheese, eggs, black tea, sardines, black coffee.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's like an Arctic expedition list from like 1800s.
I know. I've been living off of one egg and one piece of... I mean that. Like, genuinely, I have a bird's nest every morning. I cut out the middle of my bread, and I put my egg in there, and that's it. That's the whole day. I have coffee. I usually have 2 cups of coffee a day, but...
See, your mom used to make those for you, the bird's nest.
I love them. They're great.
Like, I never had those as a kid. I never got the magic of it.
It's not even the magic. Like, they're just like... It's a good way to consume those items.
It's eggs and toast.
I know it's eggs and toast, but putting them together so they're like a singular piece, like that's just, and you can pick it up and like eat it like a piece of toast. I was gonna say like a sandwich. I'm like, it's just one piece of bread. I'm like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for of the thing that you could eat that's one piece of bread?
My mom, when I was a kid, she had this egg poacher, and it had 4 little trays, and you put water in it, so it's like they're like steamed. Yeah. You put but the little trays are triangle shaped, and they're round. Ooh. So like the egg that comes out is a triangle shape with like all the edges are round, and it's like soft boiled.
That sounds lovely.
That had magic to it to me. Like, I mean that. Like, then the only way to eat them too would be like smash them all up.
Yeah.
Smashed up poached egg. So like the bird's nest thing, I get that. Like if I could find one of those egg poachers, I would probably buy it and just eat poached eggs.
You should that's such a thing that you would be like, hey, look at this. I found it on eBay. Look at how magical it is.
It's just one of those things you never think about when you're on eBay.
It's like, wow, like a triangle egg, Dad. That's cool.
You had to be there. It's just like
absolutely.
It's just like the bird's nest was with you. You know, you grew up with that, so now it's like that's what you do.
I'm not like trying to sell people on it. I just like, I have found if you have one egg and one piece of bread to spare, it's kind of sad to make them apart. So you can look at them on a plate like separately. You have your one egg that you could literally just like eat in one bite, and your piece of toast that will be gone too soon, and your cup of black coffee.
No, you're right.
And then you get the little puck. Get like a little puck of toast, which you salt those.
Yeah,
you got to put salt on them.
It's like that round egg from McDonald's that's on the sausage McMuffins.
Those are great.
I bought a set of those rings.
Exactly. Why don't we use those more often?
I don't know, man.
Like those are
one of those things you're not thinking about in the moment, but just a little ring you put in your
so scrumptious
in your nonstick pan and crack your egg into it, so you get that half-inch thick puck of egg like you get on a sausage McMuffin.
You absolutely need that.
Man, I had a sausage McMuffin in the UP. This is probably a month ago. I was up there filming, building the woodshed, and I had to run into town to get a couple things. And town is like an hour drive where you're just beating yourself to death on the sand roads up there, just logging roads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Out there once.
And I went to McDonald's, and I think I got food poisoning. Like the whole rest of the day, man, I was just dying, sweating, and like sick feeling, and trying to work in the woods.
Yeah. It was earlier this... What am I saying earlier this summer? That was half a year ago. It was in June. It was when I went up Rainbow Mountain. It was on Father's Day. Mm-hmm. Like you and Mom called me, and I'm like 5,000 feet in the air. I'll talk to you guys later. And
it terrifies us too.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Rainbow Mountain, and for people that have never seen it too, it's like a giant scree slope. Mm-hmm. Like if you were at the top and like
I was at the top,
started sliding down the scree pile,
you'd die.
Yeah, you would absolutely. There would be no way to see, because it's just steep enough to hold a bunch of sharp, jagged rocks in place as long as you don't bump them.
Yeah, there's very few places. I mean, there's like checkpoints basically, where it's like a big like sort of boulder of like the actual mountain, or it's like maybe a couple 100 square feet of just like moss and like flowers and bees and stone, and it feels just like very scenic and beautiful. And then all the rest of it is just like gravel and like stones this big, and they're all sitting on top of more stones that big, and there's a river somewhere down there just making water sounds, and you're dehydrated and losing your mind. But anyway, my point was, when I was up there, it was like high 70s that day and not a cloud in the sky. So I was just baked.
Oh yeah, I bet
day.
you were.
And when I got down to the car, like, I was literally like, I had worn myself down so much. I had to stop to sleep like 3 times driving home, where I'm like,
Was it like 70 miles?
Well, it was in Paxson, so it was probably 50, 60 miles.
Yeah.
It was close to it. But when I got back, I went to the drive-in because I just needed to put something like in my body.
It's a restaurant in Delta.
It's the only restaurant. Well,
it literally is a drive-in. You drive up and they come out and you take your order.
It is the beating heart of that community, and they make just great burgers, great everything. Place to get ice cream, but I got a meal there, and I was barely even alive, and I don't even remember like eating it really. It was just gone. I went home, went straight to bed, slept like 15 hours. Yeah, just like being in the sun, and then just having just some like garbage meal. It's not good.
It sounds like every concrete job I've ever been on in my life. Lots of sun, sweating all day, garbage food. You usually wake up about midnight with like crippling leg cramps from just dehydration.
That's like it sounds like the worst possible work environment I can think of. And it's not even because of the work at all. It's just like sun and just like bad food. Like it's like a recipe to give me like a horrible headache. It's gonna last deep into the night.
Headaches are a part of the job.
Ugh.
But yeah, you're also like the first tradesman on the site. So you just get like a dirt parking lot to work in the sun. You can see why YouTube is such a never-ending well of joy to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it beats the heck out of
wake up
sometime
between like 8 and noon. Work whenever you feel like it. Loosely.
Mm-hmm. The problem with YouTube, and you know this, and Ryan knows this, and your mom, make sure I'm not messing up my thing there, is you're always looking for something that you would do yourself, that you can shoot. Because you don't want to just shoot garbage that's not, you don't want to shoot stuff that's not really what you're doing or who you actually are.
Like your sea lions?
Well, that was what I was doing, and I love the sea lions.
I love the sea lions,
They really
too.
didn't have any value for anybody else. But, I mean, if I went and shot like a review today of like the Lamborghini, whatever, what the heck do I know about Lamborghinis?
Might be a funny video, though.
But if I shot another video about digging an outhouse, I've dug a lot of outhouses. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you find something that's in your wheelhouse, it's like, okay, this is probably interesting to a lot of people, and I've got the environment and the opportunity and everything to shoot this particular subject. This was my point. Like, once you get that video out, you're like, I can relax for a minute, because you no longer have this expectation. Like, people are waiting for you to upload your next video.
Yeah.
And you usually got about 2 or 3 days where you can just goof off and feel fine, and then you start getting this nagging, like, I got to get back to work. I gotta start on the next project.
And that is a real downside of working YouTube full time, is that you are never ever free of that.
Never.
Just this looming idea of like the mass of humanity that's waiting for you to like put something out there. And even who knows how much of that is actually like real? How many people are actually like thinking in their day to day, like when are they going to put out their next thing?
Probably nobody.
Probably, I hope.
But if it's what you do, it's your job. All of us.
You're thinking about.
We've all talked about this. Like, as soon as you, So you get a video out, you get a couple days to like relax, like, oh, I finally got something done. And then it's just like that, just nagging, like you can't get away from that feeling like, A, I should be shooting something. B, I maybe don't have a good idea at the time. So I have to come up with an idea and go film it. And it's its own little hell, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a lot better than a lot of things you could do in life, but it is like, it's a pressure that you don't even think about in other occupations. You get in this like, oh, I have to, I've got to come up with something to do that's worth doing. And you also have to stay authentic. So it's like,
yeah,
what am I doing in my life that's worth filming? And a lot of times the answer is not much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I even envy you because I'm in a point in my YouTube career, if you can call it that. I mean, I don't make very much money. I don't think it's fair to call it a career when the government doesn't take very much money at the end of the year, even for me to notice. And they're like, it's okay. Like, we got you this time, buddy. Like, don't worry about it. I'm like, but you're supposed to take my taxes. Like, it's, we'll get it. But I'm fairly early on. I'm like a year and a half in. So I still am at the point where I'm trying to do a video every week or two. Like, if I'm on 14 days without a video, I feel bad about it. Like, I feel it, like, in my skull, where it's just like, it's like, it's been 2 weeks. Like, you need to put something out now. And
that's the thing.
Yeah. And, like, having to, like, so I usually get, like, one day. I get the first day that a video's out, and then I'm like, I have 6 days before the next video needs to go out, and I need to find something to do in that 6 days. I need to film it. I need to edit it. I need to write a script for it, record that script, put music on it, find some place with internet that actually works so I can put it out. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've like been like, I need to post a video right now, and then like gone to the library and their Wi-Fi doesn't work, like gone over to a friend's house with Wi-Fi, his Wi-Fi doesn't work, go back to the library and do that a couple times, and then like lose that sweet spot in the day where you want to put something out.
Yeah, the behind the scenes of what it really is like to YouTube is, it can be far from glamorous. I remember I used to upload at the local library, because they had good internet. And I remember lots of times sitting in my Escort station wagon, and it had an exhaust leak, because I used to drive it in Alaska up and down our road, and our road's real rough, and I'd like ripped the front of the exhaust manifold where it bolts up to the motor, so it was almost impossible to fix it. And anyway, I would sit there, and it'd be snowing and sleeting outside, and I'm waiting for my video to upload, and I can't run the heat because I'd get asphyxiated with carbon monoxide.
Awful.
So I'd run the heat until I couldn't stand to breathe the air in the car. And then I'd shut the heat off and freeze, and I'm just waiting for a video to upload. And
that's so bad.
Trying not
Never heard that.
Yeah, that was a lot of the first probably 2 or 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
That was here in Michigan, but during the time we were in Alaska, I've uploaded in like the Lowe's parking lot.
Yeah, I've uploaded there.
There's a hotel in Fairbanks that it's over by like the Carl's Jr. restaurant. You'd pull into the parking lot and you could get on the hotel Wi-Fi and upload. And
you know, I've begun a section in the notes in my phone that's just the Wi-Fi passwords of hotels I've been to.
Yeah.
Just so that like if I'm ever in the area and I need Wi-Fi, I'm like, I know what this one is. Because, you know, you never think about that. Like,
no.
They're never gonna change it. You can just,
you hope.
Yeah. Like I need to get like the one for the Westmark so I can go into like the lobby and just like hang out in the lobby and like do anything I need to do. I mean, that's overkill. I'm not usually in Fairbanks, but yeah, I've gone Sportsman's Warehouse.
You could probably You could probably go to that restaurant at the Westmark Hotel and just order a sandwich and be like, "Do you guys have Wi-Fi?" And they'd give you the hotel Wi-Fi.
Probably. That'd be pretty cool.
That's what YouTube is like at the beginning for people who live in the country. for hillbillies. You got to go to the gas station with the best Wi-Fi and sit in the snow in the parking lot while you're uploading.
That's part of it.
That is part of it.
That is absolutely part of it. Well, I think a good question to end out on is one that I'm sure that you probably have a pretty or relatively well thought out answer for. Is what's the number one piece of advice that you would give to anyone who might be thinking about going into this career path?
Number one piece of YouTube advice.
Because I know that you just started your YouTube advice channel.
Yes, that's true. I have started an advice channel.
Don't say it yet, because
it's Dave Whipple.
The shill part of the videos at the very end, where I ask where I can find you, and then you say,
right.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. So the biggest tip to new YouTubers. There's several things that could be said here. I tell people all the time, move the camera. Get lots and lots of shots. Get really close shots. Get a few shots that are really far away. Get a lot of medium shots. But I like a lot of close-up. Because I like to see stuff as if I'm holding it in my hand, right?
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing anybody... Always tell the truth. Once in a while you see videos of people that are like, they're just full of it and they're pretending to do something that they're not doing. But the subject is everything, in my opinion. Like, doesn't matter how good of a video you make. If you make the best video that's ever been made on how to make doodles on a chunk of cardboard, nobody's looking for it. It could be shot with an IMAX camera and edited by George Lucas, and it's still going to suck if it's got a really, really, really bad subject.
I love that moment where you said edited by, and you tried to think of a famous editor. And
I don't know a famous
You're like,
editor.
oh no, that is a completely empty, cultural, there's no, the famous editor.
I think editors are mostly interns that are locked in dark rooms and meant to pour over all the horrible footage looking for the nuggets.
That's how we feel anyway, editing.
But the IMAX camera thing is definitely you could have the best of everything. And if you shoot a video titled What I Did Last Saturday, nobody knows who you are, nobody cares who you are, nobody cares what you did last Saturday. But on the other hand, if you shot a video how to change a tire or how to change a flat tire, there's 100 million people that might watch that video because it's useful. It says exactly what it is. And even though it's simple and boring and there's nothing glamorous about changing a tire, it's a useful piece of content, especially if it's a 16-year-old kid that's just got their driver's license. They don't want to ask grandpa how to change a tire. They want to Google it so they don't sound stupid. And then they just change their tire. Grandpa's like, oh, you changed your tire. Good. Or maybe just, that's good.
Yeah. Or just,
Yeah,
just that and walk away.
It's like how to drive a stick shift, right? If somebody wanted to learn how to drive a stick shift, they'd probably Google it. And it's something that you could, it's a boring concept on the surface of it, but it's useful and it's got a big group of people who would be interested in that information. And that'd be my number one tip. Make sure you spend most of your time making sure you have a subject that you're qualified to cover and that it already has a lot of interest. Because if it doesn't have a big interest group, it doesn't matter how good the video is. It's only going to do just so good. So when people are thinking I want to get started on YouTube and I could You know, I could do this vlog style content like, hey, here I am. This is what I'm doing today. Watch me. Hit subscribe, hit like. Why? What are you providing the world? What amazing insight or information or education or inspiration? What do you have to offer?
Yeah, that's one of the things that you have said a lot. Like the two words that I always think of, like when I think of you giving YouTube advice, is like, are you providing value?
Yeah.
That's not two words, but I was just thinking of the words providing value, and then I said the whole sentence, but
yeah,
you say that a lot.
The value thing is real. It's, I mean, you could have what on the surface would be a really, it might not be a very amazing video, and it could do awesome because it has a lot of people. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, the ductwork in the house, like it smells different times a year because the house is like 130 years old.
Yeah.
So I looked up how to clean furnace ducts. And the biggest video on the subject was like 500,000 views. And that the channel had like 50 subs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like there's a massive, like if somebody put out a incredibly well done video of how to clean out the ducts, they're your furnace heating ducts in your house, like that's a 1 million view video. It wasn't something I cared about doing. Otherwise I'd have done it that day because like I needed ducts cleaned. I could have shot at least a video from like, I'm going to clean my ducts for the first time. So, I mean, and we burn wood 90% of the time. So it really wouldn't make a ton of sense on my channel, but it's something I was already interested in. And then I stumbled across the fact that like, oh, this is an underserved subject. That would have been a really good thing to film. Was that the right context for that answer? What was the question?
I believe the question was, what's the biggest piece of YouTube advice that you would give to someone who might be starting out? And the last place that we were at was, you said, I might have done that duct video because it was an underserved topic. Which I'm not entirely sure how those two things...
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what the point you were trying to make with that was.
I guess the point with that was a great subject. And if it's in your wheelhouse, if it's something you do that you're interested in, that you could at least give your insight on, even though it's not like an awesome topic that's like flashy, it's got a big audience, and it'd be a good, solid, usable video that could get 1 million views. And if people, here's another takeaway: if people want to grow their channel, you don't grow your channel by asking for subscribers and asking people to hit the bell and be like, yeah, sub and like and comment. You grow your channel by getting lots and lots and lots of views. The biggest video on my channel, I think, is probably responsible for a couple 100,000 subscribers because it has millions and millions and millions of views.
It must be at like 26 now.
I almost think it's almost 28.
Is it really?
I think. I haven't looked in a while.
The last time I remember checking it, it was at 23. So I was just guessing off of that.
It's a cabin building video. And to come back to all the years that we were in Alaska, you know, when the kids were really young, is we lived in cabins. We built our own cabins. And so it was the thing that like I could do that was worth doing on YouTube that I love doing anyway is land clearing, building little cabins. And that was part of what I thought, like, man, I'd love to share this stuff on YouTube. But to wrap up your question with one last thought on the best advice for a new YouTuber. Some people come to YouTube with the idea that they want to be a YouTube star, and they get this like, look at me, look at me, look at me. I have to post once a day, every day, twice a day. I've got to be on TikTok and Instagram. And if you actually did want to be a YouTube celebrity, shoot content that people really love, that's really valuable to a lot of people, and you'll end up being one. But if you start off just trying to be one by like being everywhere all the time, because there is a corner of YouTube that's like that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some niches are better than others for that kind of strategy. Definitely.
Yeah, like shooting the YouTube how-to content that I've been shooting on my new channel. There's not much you can do other than sit and talk. It's a very much a talking head platform.
Yeah.
And maybe that's important, but with channels like Betting on Alaska and Bushradical, they're very project-based channels.
Yeah.
They're very, outdoors and experience-based.
Yeah.
And with those, man, the best way to grow a channel is to do the best work you can and to frame it up in the way that makes the quickest, easiest sense to somebody looking at thumbnails and titles, and make sure it's worth doing. You can't ask me for one piece of advice.
Yeah.
Why don't you say, Dad, ramble on for 20 minutes about, because I can do that.
Yeah, you certainly can.
But one piece is hard to do. One piece is difficult because there are several things that are important, and
which is why you have started a channel for this stuff.
Yeah.
You can say that now if you
yes,
want.
I have a new channel called Dave Whipple, and it's just the kind of the premise of it is blue collar advice for succeeding on YouTube. So check it out, subscribe to that if you have any interest in YouTube. If you don't, it'll bore you to tears, but if you do, it's right up your alley, and check it out.
Awesome. And your main channel for people who don't know?
My main channel is Bushradical, and it's just the most interesting parts of whatever I've been up to for the last 8 years. Cabin building projects, rustic technology, hand-driven wells and outhouses and trips, and
you should see all the stuff that happens in between all those videos. It's a lot of
picking guitar, sitting on the couch,
a lot of breakfast,
a lot of breakfast,
a lot of ice cream, a lot of scrambled eggs and motorcycle rides.
You just do what you do, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I would love your life. I would love the life that you lead at this moment. Not any of the rest of not any of the time before now.
Not any of the cement,
like
mosquitoes.
I'll take like the last 3 or 4 years. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. I have been Mick from Betting on Alaska, and until next time, toil for your food, guys. See you around.